Good afternoon and welcome to our Tech Talk, the boat as workplace. My name is Pernille Lau and I'm your master of ceremony. I'll just say it again, if you watch via the Metstrade Connect and you have some questions, please do let us know. You can send your question to the chat. The pandemic has not only boosted boat sales and levels of interest in boating around the world, it has also changed the way we use boats. Remote working has become the norm in many places, so where better to combine work with leisure than in a splendid isolation on board. But what are the longer-term implications for the boat business? How does the industry fully embrace the modern boater's need to stay connected at all times? And what are the long-term implications to power that generation at sea? Joining me today is my co-host at Slack, editor of IBI magazine. Well, you've been commenting on the global industry for a decade now, I believe.
Well, IBI's been since the late 1960s.
Yeah.
So we've seen lots of changes. I wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 25 years, so
imagine.
I've seen a few changes as well.
And this is the third time that you're now my co-host, or maybe even the fourth time?
No, third time.
Yes.
My last time.
Yes. Well, don't let it be the last time. For this year, of course, because we will continue with Metstrade TV definitely next year again. So tell me about the changes that you're seeing right now. What boat builders and equipment manufacturers are telling you if we're globally looking at commenting the marine industry.
Well, I mean, this has been against, some would say against the odds, given what the announcements on Friday. This has been a fantastic show.
Yes.
And I think it's been, an eye-opener. The last 12 months has been a fantastic time for R&D and research and new products, a lot of pent-up product that should have been here in 2020 but couldn't be. And you just have, as we've mentioned before, you look outside at that Dame floor, tons of new product, exciting times. But I think with this new product, with this technology, and we're obviously going to talk a bit about that today, the user experience is getting better and better and appealing to more and more people.
And we can actually really state by now that COVID has not just been putting the industry back, but actually pushing it forward.
Pushing it forward, I think, definitely. It's accelerated a lot of trends that were happening before the pandemic, but as I say, it's speeded things up considerably. Yeah.
You brought us two guests who are keen to have a conversation with us on this topic. Please introduce them to us.
Well, we're going to talk, obviously, today a little bit of the boater's workplace, how it's changing, how what we've gone through the last 12, 18 months is changing people's perceptions, what they want from their boats, how they use their boats. And so we've got two people who are going to give us two angles slightly on it. I've got with me Maurizio Minossi, who is with AV and IT specialists, Videoworks, so they can tell us all about the onboard experience, how that's changing and how the technology is evolving and adapting and what impact that's going to have on boat design going forward. And also to give us the space angle, we have our friend from KVH, it's Paolo Belluomini.
Perfect.
It's a beautiful name.
I know.
Yes,
Belluomini. It makes me think like the beautiful man.
It could be that, or it could be also from Bellum, that means warrior.
Look, and that in this industry.
So Paolo's going to tell us a bit about the advances in SATCOMs and where that's going to take us and where it's taking us at the moment and what impact that's going to have. So I've got a space angle. We've got the space, and we're going to go bring it down with Maurizio onto the water and how people are using their boats as well. Yeah. Okay.
Good idea. So Maurizio, maybe we should start with you, because you know also that now for technology advances such as the coming in of 5G, which is of course is great. It's having a major impact on how we use the boat. Could you say something more about the changes that you're seeing in the industry?
Yes, the 5G is indeed a factor for improvement of the life experience on board. Above all, that nowadays with the introduction of the lower frequencies and bandwidth, it's possible even to be almost sure that the ship is 5G connected up to 10, 50 miles. That is very interesting for the industry. And then it means more bandwidth, but even much less latencycy latency— that it means that for guests on board, the experience once that they are 5G connected is very similar to the one that they have at home. So it's very dramatic change, because probably in the first time into the internet experience is like at home and not quite different like it was in the past.
Yeah. Well,
but we've obviously 5G is good close to shore. It's quick. That's what people expect nowadays. It's not so good offshore, is it, 5G?
No, it's a mixed model, because when there is the ship is outer of 50 miles, of course it happens very frequently for a ship. There are other technologies to integrate. This is the big challenge that we have.
Because we have people's expectations, especially we've talked a lot about new boaters, a new generation of boaters. Their expectations are very much driven by their on-land experience, aren't they? Everybody wants quick, instant, and they don't understand that at sea it's a different ballpark.
It's a different story.
It's a different story completely. So in some ways, I guess it's about managing expectation to some extent.
Yeah, it's something that, of course, is necessary, of course, to improve, to be very clear what are the expectations, and even to give them mixed models in terms of bandwidth, in terms of addition of the connectivity, in terms even to priorities, because in some cases, some guests can have a kind of priority, some part of the crew can have other priorities. So it's something mixed model that, as usual in this industry, we should be able to listen the client, to tailor the connectivity solution according the plot they have in their own mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the connectivity solution, of course, and that's what you have to serve, that demand. But on the other hand, thinking of people who want to be connected all the time, does it also give a different output on hardware on the boat? Does it change? Do you need more space, less space?
No, it's something that once that the idea is to keep onto professional solution, of course, keeping away a material or experimental solution. I think is not the hardware that makes the difference, unless what is the out of deck, the antennas. In this case, with antennas, of course, there are more needs to space according the investment that you do for the antenna that you select.
Yeah. Now you were mentioning the 5G, huh? but actually there's different solutions when you go.
Well, of course, and this is where we bring in the space element.
Yes.
Paolo, because if we can keep, if we can simplify some of the jargon and talk about the sort of low Earth satellites, the medium, all that is have major repercussions for our industry, doesn't it? And that technology is improving and getting less costly.
Yes. From looking at the maritime business from the space, as I used to do, it's always difficult to blend the requests from boat owners or users that would like to have the same experience as at home to what is the technology that is on the space that is a little bit different. But yes, not to go into too much technical things, but the 5G protocols includes non-terrestrial networks. So, of course, the LEO and MEO networks are included, and there are many of them at some different stages, some in the early stages, some of them are operative. You can have your LEO connection at home. And so, of course, as operator and manufacturer, we are looking into that business. It is growing, and we are expecting to have a lot of turmoil in the next 2 or 3 years because things are changing, and towards the experience that people are having at home or in their office, the same are in the boat.
Yeah, and it is becoming more and more important. I mean, of course, Ed was just mentioning the new generation of boaters, but next to that, also the fact that many people would like to use the boat as an office and just be out there. Where first you would take the boat to be out and to be alone, isolated. Now you want the boat to be communicating and to be there as like a piece in the world of daily life, right?
And yes, yesterday I was talking with a boat owner, and his first request was, I'm afraid of being in the middle of the ocean without an internet connection. In the past, that was not the very first interest of a boat owner, but that is now.
Yeah.
So, of course, we are tending to give that experience easy for them, and also to something has changed, as you said, using the boat. The boat was at the first the simple answer to be isolated and keep the distance and be in a beautiful place, of course. So we have seen in the last year, year and a half, a difference in the bandwidth consumption, so and the bandwidth attitude of the people. So they ask for not every time the cheaper solution, but a solution that can allow them to do what they want to do. And also, of course, we have seen an increase in the upload of data. So that means that people were using their board to upload upstream video conferencing or whatever. So working from home and delivering the content outside of the board. In the past, it has been always the opposite. People downloading and catching information or updating the audio-video systems.
Isn't it interesting how the mindset is changing, how the demand is changing in itself? And that's where you have to adjust also what you can offer, of course.
And also sort of the trickle-down technology that, I mean, obviously, 5 years ago, all of this would have been the remit of just big super yachts, and it's only for super yachts. But now, obviously, bigger production boats want this technology. They want to be connected. They want to download Netflix. They want to, they want to be instantly. So we're seeing all of this sort of technology coming into the general industry as much more. Would you say, Paolo? Do you see that?
Yes, I remember. I make a comparison of 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I remember that the TV satellite system were called the emotional system because you need to have on board to have your TV experience. Now it is that feeling has been transformed into the VSAT and anyway internet connection. You need to have them. So. Everything related to that, so audio, video, connection, and people, younger generation that needs a connection every time. Not to talk about IoT, that is also a small part, because there is also the need to control everything. And
exactly, we've been talking about that too.
I just want to bring in Maurizio here, because a few years ago, Maurizio, you'd have banks and banks of your equipment on board the bigger boats, needing to do all these different things. I know that they're getting much smaller, aren't they? You're freeing up a lot of space on board now because of the units.
Yes, of course. Due to the fact that we can rely on fast and stable internet connections, the user can enjoy their own streaming and online services. That means that we don't need anymore to have big boxes to work locally on board. That means that in terms of space occupancy, we can move toward a central-based system with all the equipment in one central point. So keeping free eventually the spaces into the cabins for the clothes, the wardrobes and so on, that above all for the ladies was very annoying to have a cloth that was occupied by racks with the communication entertainment solution. So it's a big step further in this, the way that people enjoy the
And for the boat builders, installation, is that easier now?
Easier, of course, is something that is much more useful and easy to have one single point of installation where it's easy to calculate the proper cooling, to have something that is specific there instead of going around to put devices all around the ship.
We have a viewer's question, actually. We were just also a little bit about cost, because that's what it's all about. They are asking, how much does the panel expect costs to come down for the user in the coming years?
It's a good question. I think it's not the point is no more related to the cost of the panels, but what is probably will be the downsides into the cost of the services. This is the real bargain. So then of course Paolo I do expect that in terms of hardware won't be so much squeezing in comparison to a normal dome at present, but what will be a bit different is the cost. But even above all, what is even important to focus is that the latency, because every one of us usually focus on the speed, but even the latency is a factor, because at present with a VSAT, the trip of a package is more than 1 second. That means the Zoom calls and so on are not very interactive. With these new services of LEO and 5G, the latency is very lower. So it means the Zoom call is Zoom call. Done at my home or my ship, there is no difference like was now with the VSAT systems and so on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, Paolo?
of course, lower the constellation, lower the latency, of course. So the LEO, low Earth orbit satellites are, will allow for much lower latency. There are, it is a complicated technology because with SATs, we are used to have geostationary satellites where we know there are a few of them. With LEO, there are thousands and thousands of satellites that needs to hand over to each one every few minutes. So that's why the challenge of this technology will be in the next few years.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But speeds and are much improved. There are much improvement also in the term of the security. So.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about. You were just mentioning actually that there's so much more uploaded instead of downloaded. But when you have confidential conversations, of course, also things that you upload, you would say that the security becomes really important, right?
Yes.
What about that?
No, I think that the most of the concerns are not about confidential conversation, but also about how many people are attaching their devices and uploading something that is uncontrolled.
Yeah.
So there are basically two main way to control that. That is basically from the VSAT point of view is having the control on the Earth station. So everything is done on the terrestrial part of the satellite systems. So they control everything from that has been uploading and downloading, and from the 4G or the other blended networks. It is done locally on devices.
So for the 4G, if we're talking, say, a super yacht with some crew, the owner might want to answer a different set of criteria than 10 crew wanting it to go on YouTube and all that sort of thing. So how does the technology adapt to that?
Yes, this is a nice question. Thank you. Because, of course, the customers now, they would like to have, in the past, they would like to have a big dashboard with a lot of buttons, a lot of controls, a lot of things to change. Now, probably because they are more occupied in other business, and they want to have their experience. So it could be 4G or 5G or VSATs or LEO. They want his experience, his speed, his security, and of course, together with this. That is something that is transparent to the user. Must be. The new vogue is to have that transparent for the customer. And of course, also the owners can make different layers of networks on board for professional using, or for the crew, or for IoT, for example. This is a small stream that is going 24 hours a day.
Yeah. But it's got to be instant, hasn't it? It's got to be that they don't have to do it themselves and go through.
Yes, of course, and probably Maurizio will explain better. But yes, they want to do what they want to do without being tricky into different
without being interrupted. Also,
yes.
would you like to add on that, Maurizio?
Yes, of course there are several solutions that are able to automatically select the connection and the bandwidth according the usage, according the kind of device that you use, according the people who is using. So it's something that adds value to our business, but eventually adds value to the simplicity of the life on board.
Yeah.
So if you are, say, a charter guest, you come on board your super yacht, it's got to be a hotel experience. You log in, you piggyback the boat's Wi-Fi, and that's all okay, that's all secure, and that's doable now, yeah?
Yeah, there's a funny joke. Now the captains report that when they select new people on the crew, the first request is what about Wi-Fi? It's not what about the salary, what about the situation, what about the shifts, not what about the Wi-Fi, how big is the Wi-Fi?
Can I stay connected?
This is the first question.
Yeah.
And of course is something that even in parallel to the fact that there is this bandwidth control, we try to make things simple in order that the accounts of the Netflix, of the Spotify, and so on should be centrally managed in order that there is a nightmare both for the ETO and the guest to enjoy on board this.
You don't want to have the hiccups in the songs,
no,
right?
I don't know if you never try to put with the remote control an account on Spotify on your smart TV, probably you have thrown the remote control in front of the TV. So it must be simple and managed very, very easily.
Another subject that we've been talking about many times already here at Metstrade TV, and that really is popping out also in the industry, is the demand for sustainable products, boating. If you look at sustainability, how does it fit in with the latest drivers in technology?
Yes, in terms of what, as a system integrator, now the demand is to have a cabling plan that is able to sustain, I would say, 15-20 years of evolutions. And then the clients, they want, of course, something that impacts with as low power consumption as possible, because we even started to get the first request about what about the carbon footprint of my AV system. And the second, even to have a plan about the innovation and the replacing plan in order that there is done in a planned way, and even with the products that are installed at the moment that is necessary and not over technology on the system.
Yeah, well, what about you, Paolo? How do you see that sustainability moving in the new technology?
Of course, there is, for example, as I said before, lower the orbit, lower also the power that you need to use for the system. So that is the small part that we can do for that way of sustainability, yes. And of course, as you said, more and more there are requests from the shipyards when they build to check and do the power budget of the boat and to control that in some way that they can certify to the customer that their boat is more green than the others. Yes.
So rounding this all up, huh?
Well, it's fascinating. I mean, Paolo, we've talked about this before, how it's key that people now, years ago, boaters got a buzz out of getting into technology, and they like to work it all out, and they like buttons, and they like, they enjoyed that big panel of, border buttons and switches to sort of, navigate. Now I think it's sort of technology, has to work for you. You don't want, it's got to work, but you don't want to work for it. It's got to be at your beck and call when you want it. You want experience. It's just a medium to that experience. It's to make that experience better. It should be actually, in many ways, it shouldn't even be part of the experience. It should be in the background, hidden away, and it just has to work.
Yeah, but it has to be there. And
it has to be there, and it has to be intuitive. It has to be,
particularly if you want to use the boat as a workspace, of course.
Certainly. I mean, video conferencing,
everything
from your boat. I mean, as we said, 5 years ago, you went on a boat to escape video conferencing.
Yeah.
But now it's because people are spending more time on boats.
Definitely.
They're spending, instead of a week, 2 weeks, they're spending 2-3 months now because of the pandemic. So it's fascinating topic.
It's a totally new way of looking at it and experiencing it also. And I'm looking forward to all those video conferences where people are just suddenly still in their bathing suit thinking, oh dear, what mistake did I make?
We could do Metstrade TV next year from
floating Mets TV.
Floating Metstrade TV. That's a challenge.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. This was our Tech Talk on the boat as workplace. I wish you a great show, all of you who are watching, and of course you also, Ed. Thank you so much for being my co-host so many times. It's been a true pleasure.
I've enjoyed it. Enjoyed it tremendously. It's fantastic.
We'll continue
nice to be part
next
of
year.
It.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who are watching via the Metstrade Connect platform, get connected yourself too, because the system allows you to make virtual appointments with exhibitors and visitors at Metstrade during and after the show. And for the studio, we will be back at 2 o'clock Amsterdam time with the Tech Talk, the Smart Shipyard, organized by the Superyacht Group. Thank you so much for watching, and see you then.